Hi, and welcome back to another episode of Then We Eat. It's a cold and rainy day outside, so it would be a perfect day to make pork tacos. Before I start the video, hit the like button if you like the video at the end, share it with all your friends, and comment down below. Let us know if you've made these tacos, or better yet, what would you put in your tacos? We're going to start with a pound of pork tenderloin that we're going to cut into strips. The recipe calls for 1/2-inch strips. The last time I made it, I found the 1/2-inch was too thick, so I'm going to cut them into about 1/4-inch strips. So the first thing we want to do is we want to add some salt and pepper to our pork. So I added just enough salt and pepper just to cover the top of the meat. Now I'm just going to mix it all in. Be about somewhere between 1/4 and 1/2 teaspoon. Just want to massage it all in, make sure that your meat's all covered in salt and pepper. Now I've got to marinate my pork, so I'm going to put it in a Ziploc bag along with the ingredients that I need to marinate it with. I find using the Ziploc bag is the best way to marinate, that way you can get all the flavors incorporated. So into the bag we're going to add 3 cloves of garlic, finely chopped. Then we're going to add 2 teaspoons of chili powder, 1/2 teaspoon of Then We Eat devil powder, and 1 teaspoon of cumin that I've toasted. We're going to seal, we're going to mix, and then we're going to put it in the fridge for an hour to marinate. Make sure every piece is well coated. There we go. And into the fridge it goes. We'll be back in an hour once it's marinated. If you wanted to make this the night before, you can leave it in the fridge marinated overnight. The longer you leave it, the more flavor is going to get into your meat, the better it's going to be. I'm only going to marinate mine for an hour. You can marinate yours as long as you have. Now to go with our pork tacos, I'm going to make a coleslaw. I'm going to start with the cabbage. I'm going to cut up about 1/4 of the cabbage into thin slices. Okay, so we're going to use about 1/4 of our cabbage. The first thing I'm going to do is cut the core out. And then we'll cut it into thin shreds. Okay, so our cabbage is cut up. We're going to add it to our bowl. We'll set this aside while we make the dressing. Now for our dressing, we're going to add 3/4 of a teaspoon of oil. If you've got olive oil, you could use olive oil. I didn't, so I'm just using vegetable oil. I'm going to add 1/2 plus 1/4 of a teaspoon of honey, 3/4 of a teaspoon of Dijon mustard, 1/4 of a teaspoon of celery seed, 1 tablespoon plus 1 teaspoon of apple cider vinegar, and a dash each of salt and pepper. I'm going to give that a mix. And now I'm going to add my dressing to my cabbage and give it a mix. And I'll let that sit for as long as my meat is marinating. We'll be back when it's time to cook the meat. Hi, and welcome back. Our pork has been marinating in the fridge. Now it's time to cook it. So for this, I'm going to use the induction cooker. So I'm going to turn it on, and it's going to get a little bit loud. So we'll just let that warm up a little bit. And once it's warmed up, we're going to add 3 tablespoons of vegetable oil. So in goes our oil. I'm just going to let the oil heat until it gets a little ripply, then I'll know that it's warm enough. Okay, so our oil is nice and heated. Now it's time to add the pork. I'm just going to dump it all in. And then we'll give it a mix in the pan. I can tell you it smells absolutely amazing. Now I'm just going to let this cook for about 5 to 7 minutes until it's cooked through. Okay, so our pork is cooked and I'm going to turn it off now. I'm going to set the pork aside for now, and when I set it aside, I'm going to squeeze 1/2 of lime over the top. I did squeeze the other half of the lime over the coleslaw to incorporate the flavors, so you'll get some of the lime in the pork and some in the coleslaw. Let's move this aside. We're going to work on our taco shells. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to heat some taco shells. I'm going to do that off camera, and I'll be back once they're heated. One of the things I forgot to mention is if you haven't been keeping up with how much of each quantity we've been adding, you can always check the description down below. We try to list the recipe and the quantities in the descriptions. Okay, so our shells are heated. They're ready to be assembled. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to add some of our pork to the bottom of our taco. So I've got my pork in. Now I'm going to add some coleslaw. Then Then we'll add a little tiny bit of cheese and a little dollop of sour cream on top. So our taco is assembled. Now it's time to taste it. I can't wait. It smells absolutely amazing. That is so tasty. You get a nice flavor from the beef, the peppers and the spice rub. It's just amazing. And the garlic. And to top it off with that coleslaw on top is just fantastic. So that's going to wrap another video. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to comment down below if you make these. We'd like to know if you do or what you put in them. And don't forget, first we cook, then we eat.